Hello, welcome back to the Exchange Podcast, and this is your host, Tom Paul Tipton. I told you some changes were coming. We are in the process of trying to do video, and we have a guest on here today. But before we get there, like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends about us. And so we are going to have, I think this is your third time on here.
No, second.
Second, okay. And one of the changes that we're doing is going to start having contributors to the podcast. And so he is one of them. We got some others. It's interesting because I think I've been doing this podcast now for about 2 years. And all of a sudden, really, last week's podcast just kind of shot up. I mean, it went up in views and numbers quite a bit. And so we're just going to change kind of how we're going to do stuff, the structure. And so today you're going to kind of see that. We're going to talk a little bit today about some stuff that's going on, obviously, in the world that's got everybody scratching their heads and asking questions. Justin, say hello.
Hello.
Man, a few words. Kind of get into it. You and I have discussed, you and I have known one another, I guess now 25 years. I think that's about how far back we go. And over the years, we have had some discussions, we've had disagreements, we've had, you name it, but we've never, our friendship has just never went away. And yes, just off the subject a little bit, this is No Shave November on the Exchange Podcast.
Been no shave November for the last 25 years.
But so the idea is one of the things that, as you know, because as I said, our friendship goes back about 25 years, as you know, and a lot of people know, I am not a fan of John Calvin. But John Calvin somehow came up with capitalism from the Bible. Maybe one of the few things that I agree with him on. But there's a change ever since last Tuesday night when we got Mom Donnie. We didn't, thank God, so far we didn't. But Mom Donnie got elected mayor of New York, and one of the things that we talked about 2 weeks ago, we didn't do one last week, but 2 weeks ago on the exchange with Shaq was the subversion that Islam does. And if you have not heard that podcast, go back and listen to it. You clearly understand that Islam is not a religion; it's actually a political ideology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And,
Absolutely.
And so the thing that it's kind of interesting, they're always saying that we're just being paranoid about the Sharia law. I actually had someone today to ask me, define Sharia law and how it's going to be enacted. I said, tell you what, I did a podcast on this 2 weeks ago, lasts about 2 hours. Go back and listen to it. That's my explanation. I said, it doesn't actually come from my words. It comes from someone who understands it very well. But the other thing that a lot of people get, and this is kind of where I'm going to kind of pass it off, or I'm going to hand the ball off to you, because you've been looking into this and you have a whole lot better explanation of it than I do. And that is, they love to call conservatives specifically, and some Republicans, fascists. Kind of explain to us, walk out how that cannot be true.
Okay, that's quite easy to understand if you look at it over here. If you look at the root of both fascism and Marxism, it goes back to Hegel even farther, but if we start at Hegel, we can actually see where the philosophy of fascism and Marxism is bastardization of altruism, where it totally takes the altruistic, Christian altruistic where you sacrifice for others, or you donate to charity, but you also too have to allow for the responsibility that some people are going to try to take advantage of it. So you have to counteract that in some way, because that person would be essentially sinning by taking advantage of individuals, and you would be responsible of it. But the Hegelian altruism is that you give of yourself even when it's going to cost you everything. So you can legitimately get going to just start taking and taking and taking.
Okay, well, let me ask this before you go on, because how does that differ from? Because the reason why I'm asking is there are people who believe that Christianity is socialist, which you and I both know that is not the case. But what you said about that is that you give of yourself even if it costs you. Well, that kind of can go coincide and go hand in hand with Christianity.
Yeah, I can. But what they are doing, there's a sacrificial aspect to it with Christianity, where it's like, no greater love has men than this lay down like friends. We see that in several lives of the saints, where they willfully gave up to it. But there was also this balancing act where the people weren't taking out of their own greed.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a certain point where you have to spot out that somebody is taking because they're greedy.
Right.
And you can't contribute to that greed. And the Hegelian philosophy and extremist view, you can't even point out the greed. And so what happens is even in Hegelian, that basically led him down to the road where the individual doesn't matter. That the idea that the individual gets this identity from the state, but from the collective gives you the identity that you're because you're part of the collective. And you see that influence of Marx and Giovanni Gentile, who was the fascist in Italy, and later influenced Mussolini. And what's very interesting that Marx would actually go to debate groups where he would debate and explore the philosophy of Hegel.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mussolini was an actual Marxist communist, part of the Italian Party, and he left. And when he left, Lenin actually wrote to the leaders of the Communist Party and said, "You idiots! How let him go? He was. That's when now he's going to be leading the group, the group of fascists." And the difference between fascism and Marxism is different. They are both collective ideologies, and one of them is not right, one of them is not left wing. They're both obviously Marxism is left wing, but fascism is what they call position. It has a lot of elements from left wing ideology. It has a lot of right wing elements.
Right.
But you cannot classify it as right wing. In fact, Stalin classified it as right wing because it was the enemy. And so proudly left wingers. One of the things that's so crazy is if you look at a lot of the philosophy, they are identical between the two. But you have people probably call it Marxist, socialist, communist. But if anyone dares to call themselves fascist, that is how dare you do that? Fascist led to so many millions of deaths, so many bad policies, while ignoring Marxist Leninist policies that slaughtered Christians by millions in Russia, in the Soviet Union. Look at Maoist communism, very bad what it's done to Christians. Same with
Same with Pol Pot.
So the body count against communism and fascism says communism has a much higher body count than it's ever had. In fact, between the two ideologies, they're one of the most bloody suits we've ever had.
Yeah.
And
That's what, when people want to point to the Crusades and they want to talk about how many people died during the Crusades. But the truth is that during that time, everyone was fighting in the name of some religion. They were fighting for some god of some sort. But the 20th century, with communism, that's atheism.
Yep.
So people were being killed because what happens, and this is what made America so different, was, there's one phrase that really makes us stand apart, and that is, it's Latin, e pluribus unum, for many comes one. And it is that the whole of society, we are governed by the consent of the governed. And so in a communist society, what you have is you have people that, all of society, this is what the Nazis used at Nuremberg. Well, they were my orders. And so once the entire collective decides that something is okay, then everyone deems it okay. And this is why that I believe it was John Adams who said that our republic is meant for a moral and religious people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
the other thing is when you really explore it. We are. It's not fascism versus communism. Fascism versus Marxism.
It's
collectivism, including fascism and Marxist schools of thought, and individualism.
Right.
And we talked about this before. I am very rugged individualist.
That doesn't mean
kind of for some of our listeners who don't understand, kind of explain what that is.
Individualism.
Rugged individualism.
Rugged individuals. So Ronald Reagan really put it into play. That was kind of like and rugged individualism is you are as an individual, you're self-reliant, you're self-sufficient. You try to accomplish your own goals. Whatever it is, whether it's life, business, you're like, hey, I want to get married, I want to have kids. You pursue that. You start to fix yourself up where you are an appealing choice. When it comes to launching a career, you may go to school for it. You may go to a trade program.
Right.
But you what do I like to do? What do I want my life to be? And then you go and do that.
And as an individual, you contribute to a larger group, to society, to your church, to your family. But you have the definition because you are an individual. You're human. You are created in the image of God. You have a position, and when you're gone, that puzzle is gone. You leap a void. With collectivism, you don't have that definition unless the state gives you that definition.
Yeah.
And that's how it comes. So basically, what they say is we do the will, but the only people we're concerned about are the people who set our persons.
Yeah.
And so therefore we're democratic. So you can have 10% population that you are worthy or party or whatever. And you can say we're doing the will of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, according to logic, it would be correct. But realistically, you're a million miles away accurate.
Well, and so, some would ask, well, what is the difference in that versus the death penalty? Well, the death penalty is something that is actually accepted worldwide. And really, when America was being founded, the idea is that that our country and our experiment was unique, but yet universal. And of course, that's kind of a watered down version. But the essence of it was that our laws are universal, meaning that we believe that we get our laws from God. And to kind of give somebody maybe a little bit of a background of what I mean there is, if you are curious about how are we founded upon Judeo-Christian principles. Well, there's the statutes versus the common law, and we get our common law. The whole idea of common law, England took them from Israel, and we took them from England, essentially from Israel. And so statutes is what Congress passes. A legislative body passes it, everybody agrees on it, it's voted on. Then a statute is essentially if you're brought into court and nobody really knows anything about, there's a decision that's got to be made, then they go back into the history. Okay, probably somewhere, sometime, somebody dealt with this, and so what was their decision? How did they rule on it? And that's how we're going to rule on it.
Yeah, it's case law.
Case law. That's exactly right, and that comes from the old Jewish law, and so so we build our society based on that. But the difference is that when a group of a nation decides they're going to go collective, as opposed to individual, and the individual betters the society, which is what we do, and that's essentially what rugged individualism means. The individual is not bettering society because the individual is being cut, basically.
Yeah.
And you're being molded and shaped. That's the reason why, when everybody wants to say that MAGA or conservatism is Nazism, no, it's because even going back to John Jay and Thomas Jefferson, they realized that most Latin Americans and we found this out after Iraq, that most people around the world cannot thrive in a government such as ours.
Right.
And
one of the things is people have really a massive misunderstanding of what fascism is.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to ask most people to define fascism, they're going to give these very vague terms, and they won't even hurt on each File. They won't be able to actually quote something. They won't be able to quote any of these things. Even the philosophy of Hegel, they won't be able to tell you any of the history of Marx. And so it's like if you're not Marxist, you're not communist or fascist. And they try to portray fascism bad, communism good.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole 20th century are both bad because they have the same root.
Right.
And the state basically releases God in both cases.
That's right.
Karl Marx famously said, "Religion is the opium of the masses." And we could go and talk about some ways he may have correct, other ways he may have been wrong, but ultimately what he wanted was the state to replace the government, or not government, but the church. And so you had to have a segregation of the church pulled in. There really wasn't a church and state.
Well, and there were two videos that I meant to load onto the podcast today, and I wanted to play them, and I didn't, so that's on me. But one of them is you mentioning Ronald Reagan, and I mean, it was almost 30 years ago. I think it was 30 years ago. He made the statement that the 9 most feared words in the English language is, "I'm from the government, and I'm here to help." And then when Mom Donnie was making his acceptance speech on Tuesday night, he says, "We're going to prove that there's not a problem too big that government can solve or too small that government is not concerned." And right there is the very ideology that conservatives are concerned with.
Right. And that's the guy that asked me the other so what he goes, what's your concern? Pointed out that a lot of the failures in New York are been a blue state. The last time that New York actually was worth going to was when Giuliani was mayor.
Right. Yeah.
And he was like, well, if it's worth the same, what's your concern? I was like, well, my concern is this guy is out Marxist. I mean, he flat out calls himself socialist.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is way worse. Never had a guy like that. Last guy that had was Blasio. And people in the party had communist or socialist leanings. But they could not flat out call him. He would never have called himself. Mom Donnie actually is. And your listeners may find what I'm
Find
about
what
to
I'm about to
say
say
to be
a little bit odd,
but hear
but
me
hear
out.
me out.
I
I hope
Mom
Mom
Donnie's
Donnie's
goals
goals
are
are
successful,
successful,
or no, excuse me,
Mom
Mom Donnie
Donnie
himself
himself
is
is
successful
successful
because of the
because of
fact
the
that
fact that if he is successful,
that
that
means
means
people
people
really
really
see
see
what
what
socialism
socialism and
and
Marxism are all about,
Yeah.
and they
and they
reject it
reject it
wholeheartedly.
wholeheartedly.
So,
So, in order
for
for
Mom
Mom
Donnie
Donnie
to
to
be
be
successful,
successful,
New York has to fail.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
So
Go
yeah,
ahead.
so yeah, I hope
because if he's
because
not
if he's not
successful,
successful,
if he's going to be
he's going to be able to
blame
blame
it
it
on
on
Governor
Governor
Hochul.
Hochul.
I think he will anyway. I think
Yeah.
if his policies start to fail and New York starts to fail, I think that's what he's going to do for the next 4 years.
Well, and
right.
what they don't
What they don't realize
is
is
when you don't elect anybody
who has
zero
zero
experience,
experience,
it's
it's
basically
basically
a
a trust fund baby.
I mean,
It's like
Right. Right.
he's a spoiled rich kid,
rich
is
kid,
what
is what
he
he
is.
is.
Well, I think that was you last night saying that he
rapper.
was having. I think you were saying last night that he was having to do fundraisers.
Yes.
You know, and here's the thing: I know what people are going to say is, well, yeah, but Donald Trump to build his ballroom. No. Donald Trump got people to contribute money, and you know, someone today was talking about this, and I said, you are aware that FDR built the East Wing in order to put in his own private swimming pool. That's the whole reason that the White House has an East Wing today. And
it's also built during the Depression.
That's right. And that was one of the things that the media outlets were saying then was people are starving. America is being lampooned and this guy's building. But the difference is he actually was using taxpayer dollars. Trump's not costing the American people anything to build this. You know, and so it's been a while since the White House has had a upgrade, but I'm often reminded of
Obama did upgrades
on all pipes.
he did on all the pipes. He put in his own basketball court, and you know, and there were people who complained about that. My biggest complaint with what he did was he shut the White House down to tourists.
Yeah. On the pipe thing, I could totally give them a pass. I think if they were having to do massive reconstruction or risk to people, I could give them a pass if that were the case.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, there's things that's got to be done, and you know, and now we could go all the way back to what it was. You know, even when Abraham Lincoln was serving as senator, you know, they had to write to even get firewood, they had to write a rec form and get that passed. I mean, now could you imagine how slow things would move if we were doing that in today's society? You know, we would have more Mitch McConnells talking about these things time. I mean, you know, so I could see absolutely the, you know, how that, you know, that they have to make certain decisions. But when it's all said and done, I mean, what we're seeing is, I had put in a chat the other day that the left-wing media is going to try to make this a referendum on Trump, the loss that occurred on Tuesday night, which is nothing to concern with because of the fact that they all won in blue states, except for the 2 seats down in Mississippi. I think maybe 1 in Georgia, but that was all due to redistricting. That wasn't because, and when you look at how they redistricted, of course they were going to win those seats. This is a referendum on the Democrat Party itself and just how radical they have become.
Right.
And one of the
that
we're seeing is that
they're
they're essentially pushing out like Bill Maher.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill Maher he was Catholic, now an atheist, very liberal, and he is one of the few who is making so many issues.
Right.
And he's
been
calling
Democrats on so many things.
And I actually had somebody tell me, well, Bill Maher's not liberal anymore. And I was like, see right here. In the
In
90s,
the
he was
90s, he was
very
considered
liberal,
very
and now
liberal,
you're
and now
saying
you're
he's
saying he's
liberal enough.
liberal
That
enough. That
shows you
shows you
that you
that
guys
you
are the
guys
ones
are the
who
ones who
moved
moved
and
and
changed
changed
position.
position.
Well, even as far back as 10 years ago, he was considered extremely liberal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's happening is I heard one of them talk about that the reason that they're bringing in the socialists, the Democrat socialists, which by the way, I mean, let me finish that thought before I go there, but is that because they're a large tent. Well, really, MAGA has become the large tent because MAGA has taken the Republican establishment guys or the rhinos, and they have pushed them into the camp of many of the Democrats. And they are voting along with things with the Democrats. But I mean, when it comes down to it, you can agree or disagree with MAGA, but I mean, right now, MAGA's facing some difficulties of its own with the whole, Candace Owen and Tucker Carlson, and not to get in the deep
Nick
weeds
Nick
of that.
Fuentes, yeah.
Yeah, and the whole Nick, because I mean, what's happening here is, and I've said this, talking with you and talking with some other people, that those guys, I don't know so much about Tucker because I've kind of listened to that interview with him and Nick, but with Candace, a lot of it is they've got to have some kind of drama going for their ratings, and it's a lot of it is so out there, but that is where we are right now. Unfortunately, is I mean, coming from a guy who does a podcast, we have allowed ourselves to become divided based upon things people are saying with a microphone, such as the one that I have, that in some cases are unfounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you look
When
at
you look at
somebody
somebody
like
like
Fuentes,
Fuentes,
the big
the big
concern
concern
about
about
someone
someone
like
like
him,
him,
beyond
beyond
his
his
racism,
racist
anti-Semitism,
anti-Semitism,
and
Mhm.
the guy
guy
will
is
flat out
will
call himself a
himself a
neo-Nazi.
neo-Nazi.
Again,
Again, let's go
to
back
the
to the
earlier
earlier
part
part
of
of
our
our
conversation.
conversation.
It's
It's
not
not
so
so
much
much
fascism
fascism
versus
versus
communism
Mm-hmm.
as much
as
as it
much
is
as it is
collectivism
collectivism
versus
versus
individualism.
individualism.
That's right.
And
And
Nazism,
Nazism,
realistically,
realistically,
Nazi and fascism disagreed with each other and butted heads
heads
Yeah.
on a
on
lot
a
of
lot of
issues.
issues.
And
And
in fact, like in Italy,
you could be
ethnically Jewish and considered a Jew if you did not practice Judaism.
Yeah.
In
In
Nazi Germany, you were a Jew no matter
no matter
what.
what.
So
So
the
the
Italian fascists
fascists
didn't
didn't
really
really
start
start
persecuting
persecuting
Jews or
Jews
trying
or
to
trying to
kill
kill
Jews
Jews
until
until
they had
they
that
had
pact
that pact
with
with
Hitler.
Hitler.
And again,
Again,
I am not
not
apologist for
apologist for
fascism,
fascism,
Nazism, or anything like that, because I think
because I
that
think that I think they're all trash.
Right.
I'm an individualist,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I'm
But
also
also,
you
you
have to be accurate.
You
You
have to be a stick with tail.
because
Because
for
for
one,
one,
there's
there's
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
people
people
who are very familiar with
strong
strongman
arguments.
Mm-hmm.
and we do not want to argue against strong because
It's a waste of time.
Not arguing
against
against
the
the
actual.
actual point.
Yeah.
So,
So,
as
as
conservatives,
conservatives,
we're
we're
individuals. We are
we are
opposed
opposed
to fascism. We're
We're
opposed to
opposed to
Nazis. We're
Nazis.
opposed to
That's
neo-Nazis.
neo-Nazis.
That's right.
So
So
why are we allowing people
people
like
like
Nick
Nick
Fuentes
Fuentes
Mm-hmm.
into our
into
ranks?
our ranks?
And the other concern
concern
Nick
Nick
Fuentes
Fuentes
is calls himself. He is a
he is a
self-professed.
self-professed.
And for people who
And for
don't
people
know
who
that,
don't
Self-professed. Your mic's kind of cutting out on you. You said a self-professing what?
incel.
Incel.
Incel. Okay. Yeah. Yes,
So-
that I
so
do know. I actually have heard him say that.
And so for
And so
people
for people
who
who
don't know what that means, involuntary
celibate.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means that these guys have no options. They
They
can't get a
can't get a girl to
girl.
like.
They
They
want a girl
want a
to
girl
like.
to like.
Can't
Can't
get the girl to
like.
like.
Therefore,
they don't
they don't have a choice of being celibate.
That's right.
It's
It's
just their state of being.
to be.
And
I
I
argue that
probably over
over
99%
90%
of self-professed
self-professed
incels
incels
are
are
actual voluntarily celibate.
celibate.
Because
Involuntary. They can't get the opposite sex to have anything to do with them.
right.
Right.
Well, no,
Well,
it's
no, it's
voluntary. because there are things you can do as a man to improve your odds. You can go to the gym, develop hobbies. You can join a martial arts dojo or you can read books. You can just go out and start expanding your social circle.
Yeah.
And that stuff automatically more appealing over time.
Right.
The problem with most self-assessed incels, they don't want to do the work. Well,
Right.
if you're not doing the work, you're choosing not to do it.
That's right. Yeah.
So they are voluntarily choosing that lifestyle. They are voluntarily choosing to keep themselves at odds with the opposite sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so someone like Nick Winters, as popular as he is, if someone like Charles Manson could have women writing wanting to meet them and marry him,
he was married when he died.
Yeah. Nick Fuentes has options.
Yeah.
And so Nick Fuentes either is lying about himself being voluntary celibate and he's grifting people, or he is using it as a way to start rallying. Either option is a good option.
That's right. Yeah.
They're both bad options.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And again, we have to come down to the bottom of this. That the issue is rugged individualism versus collectivism. And if we have as rugged individualists, people in our circle arguing for collectivism, in any sense of the word, it's time to kick them out.
That's right. Yeah. And see, and therein lies the problem, because I was listening to his interview that he was doing with Tucker Carlson on the way here today. And, of course, I started listening to it this morning and just had a lot of stuff going on, so I kind of had to pick it up and leave off where I could. But one of the things that he's talking about is he's wanting to blame guys like Ben Shapiro and probably even Mark Levin. And then he wanted to even pull back to guys like George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, because he's saying the neocons were so involved with Israel that they were allowing Israel to pull us into wars. Well, I mean, in reality, you can't point to a war and say Israel pulled us into it. You might be able to say that America has interests there, but in reality, I have never chalked up Iraq to Israel. I've chalked up Iraq to, my thought is that was more of a George W. Bush getting even for George H.W. Bush, his dad.
Yeah.
Not Israel.
Yeah.
Oil had something to do with it, but it's not the oil that's laying in the sands of Israel. And that's where I'm going. I don't see how you get there from here.
Yeah. Are there policies and actions that the Israeli government does and has done that are worthy of criticism? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But are they worthy to be blamed for every single evil in the world?
No. I heard Frank Turek the other day say, and I agreed with him. He said, I'm a supporter of Israel. He said, but if my son does something and I disagree with what he's done, or I even have to correct him, it doesn't mean I hate him and I want to just get rid of him. And it's the same thing with Israel and its government. I mean, there are things that, I would by no means rubber stamp or green light everything they want to do. They are a sovereign nation, and if they do something that's illegal, I don't want the United States brought in as, well, you were part of these crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
And again, there are things to criticize the Israeli government on.
But someone like Nick Fuentes is not anybody we should be listening to on the topic.
No, absolutely, by no means.
Even Owens.
I think she's even less credible than Nick Fuentes.
Oh, absolutely. I know people who work for her, and I'm not going to name anything. I've asked them. I was like, she's pretty tough to work, and they're all yep.
Now, is she living in Nashville now?
Huh?
Is she in Nashville now? She's not in Nashville.
Yes.
I got out.
Candace puts out massive care and energy.
Do what?
She puts out massive care and energy.
I got out of there just in time. I loved Nashville, and it wasn't just her. I mean, it was just a lot of stuff that was going on there. But, Nashville's still a great city. But what you're seeing, and of course, I mean, she's not contributing to this, but what you're seeing is a lot of people moving to that city and doing there what they're trying to do all over the country, and that is take over the the places like that are so influential, and then switch those states blue. And I had somebody, I think it was on Wednesday, got into a conversation with them, and they were talking about ICE agents picking up black people and shipping them out of the country. I said, well, you've got to make up your mind here, because either we want to keep them here as slaves or we want to send them back to Africa, because that was actually tried once, by the way. I think it was in 1828 by Monroe. That's how we got Monrovia. The idea was to send them back and to colonize that area. Look at how that turned out. So nobody's taking black people. ICE agents aren't taking black people. I mean, this is why that it is so vital that we understand who is talking to us, who is speaking to us, and what kind of sense and logic do they make, if any?
Yeah, it's a situation where again, I can keep coming down to this. It's are we individuals or like collectivists?
Yes.
And again, if you're an individualist like we are,
Mm-hmm.
you do not harbor racial hatred in your heart for somebody. But you do have that recognition. This person counts as much as I do. They are an individual. They have the fullness of humanity within them. And you're like, success is on them. And it's one of the reasons why I have a view of you get out of the way of who actually want to do good and do well in their jobs.
Yeah.
Get out of their way. You can point people who are self-motivated, give them a direction and good path. Those people invent things, they improve society, actually put together as a group. But it's because they mattered as individuals.
That's right.
And their individual. A really good example is the church. The church.
Yeah.
I'm Orthodox. We have icons of saints. And you look at it, the church is the full body of Christ.
Yeah.
And as the apostle would say, that everybody has a role, they have significance. Not everybody is not everybody is a liver.
Right.
But they all have their own contributions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's how you look at one icon and have somebody who is a spastic.
That's right.
And then another person and have another person amen. And we recognize that these people live lives. They live in such a way that they honor God with everything. And as a result, they're in heaven. We acknowledge, hey, this person was a great victim. And it was through the victory Christ had already given us.
Right.
And so with collectivism, you can actually go and we've seen this happen. Go that entire group is bad. Let's get rid of that entire group.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what it is right now with Donnie policies. He wants to tax make white neighborhoods pay more.
Right.
Pay higher taxes. And he readily admits it. It's like again he's demonizing an entire group.
Mm-hmm.
And again with rugged individualism, you cannot stay with that philosophy and those ideas and entire groups while also looking at the individual.
Well, absolutely. And so, he wants to do that, and he has even said that, wealthy white people can pay more money, and it's going to improve their lives as well as the people of the city. Those wealthy white people, but it's going to be wealthy people all over, they are going to start leaving that city. which is going to be horrible. And I think that we could, even from a scriptural standpoint, make an argument for individualism when it talks about an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Why was that implemented? It was implemented because of exactly what you just said. If a group decided that another, if someone was murdered, one group would go and completely annihilate and wipe that other group out.
Right. And not only that, that passage was a limiting factor, as you just pointed out, Getty.
Oh, okay. Not as big as I thought he would be. You say he's German Shepherd, right?
No, he's Australian dog.
Australian. Okay, that's okay. I was expecting a much more massive dog.
Yeah, there you go. But what happened is if someone knocked your tooth out, a lot of times you'd go first to wipe out their entire family.
Yeah.
And eye for an eye and tooth for tooth because they pluck out an eye or they knock out a tooth. The farthest you can go back to them is pluck out an eye and knock out a tooth. That's it.
Yeah.
It was a limiting factor because by the time Christ came along, he says, I had a pastor give a sermon, and he said, this is the great antithesis. He said, Christ says, I think the law meant this, but it really meant this. And so again, it was to push us towards a much more what we would consider a much more merciful outlook.
Right.
Which kind of gives me pause on the views that I have for like certain types of punishment towards people who commit the worst types of crime. A lot of us would be like, you should totally be able to torture that, for that type of crime.
Yeah, and that's the thing because it's that I think that was the thing that was so astounding for people when Erica Kirk said on national TV that she forgave Tyler Robinson. And people don't understand that about Christianity. And, we kind of talked about this last night, kind of discussing the podcast a little bit today. And, Christianity, when you go and you read the book of Daniel, the king, Nebuchadnezzar, has a dream, and then Daniel has the dream himself, and he sees a rock that comes. He sees all the kingdoms, all of the different empires. And then all of a sudden he sees this rock that is hewn from a mountain, and it comes down and it crushes all of the other empires. And of course that rock is Christ. And we know that because that's even what, Jesus tells Peter. He says, upon this rock I will build my church, his ecclesia or his government. I will build my church and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. The Christian church has probably, we see this in the book of Acts with Stephen. The Christian church has probably won more people to Christianity because of the persecution and suffering. Not that I want that to happen, and I'm not inviting that, but Christianity thrives under that because there's something about it, and we're seeing it with what they call the Charlie Kirk effect. There's something about that makes people go, hey, these guys are doing good, and you're killing them for that.
Oh, yeah. I actually I follow people who have like a wide-ranging view, perspective, different politics than I do. And one of the people I follow is a woman goes by a nickname Sean Head. And I'm still not clear how she got that name.
Did you say Schwan Head?
No, Shoe on Head.
Shoe on Head. Yeah. It would that makes more sense than Schwan Head, I guess.
That's the German way. But she had a reaction. She's leftist. She will flat out tell she's leaning individual. And her reaction to the way that people celebrated Charlie Kirk's assassination mortified her. She had this completely just someone had rained color all over her face. I mean, she was terrified about that. And I was too.
You mentioning Bill Maher, he was pretty much the same way.
Yeah. Oh, he got drunk podcast with Billy Corgan.
He did. Yeah, he did.
And honestly, I can't. I understand. No, I can't blame for being that upset. The right, no. He was like, leftist alcoholic.
That's what, I had, I've had some comments here. Of course, I mean, that's one of the kind of the things that you get used to doing something of this nature. You get all kinds of comments and you just let them, roll off. And I've had people tell me where I need to put the microphone and do the world good. And,
I'm pretty sick. I'm going to do that too.
So, but the point being is that, they've said, well, you're just another white guy with what was it they called him? Oh, a mediocre white guy with a podcast. And my answer to that is, that may be true. I'm not trying to become an influencer per se, but I think that history, the thing that we see is that people who love liberty use all of the mediums at the time. I mean, go back to the Federalist Papers. Even the church uses the mediums to evangelize. I don't think there's no room for church podcasts or having church on podcasts. But you use the medium to talk and discuss because that's what keeps our civilization what it is. It's what keeps it free. It's what allows us to enjoy the liberty that we have. Is our conversing with each other.
Right. And as Charlie Kirk said, when people stop talking, that's when problems start happening.
That's right.
And I think we've already seen that. I told some of my left-leaning friends who didn't agree with Charlie Kirk, but they are not far left. They were not celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. You do realize the fact that you're not far left people. They will celebrate you the same way.
That's right.
I was like, that's the scary part. And that's when I really started looking at some of the people that I have as my friends list. And some of them I was just like, I'm keeping them on my list, but I'm not going to have anything to do with it.
Well, look at what Lenin did to Trotsky.
Yeah.
It
was Stalin did it to Trotsky.
Stalin, that's right. Stalin, not Lenin. Yeah, because Lenin was already dead. I mean, you look at what Stalin did to Trotsky. I mean, here's two guys that are, comrades during their revolution. And then when it comes down to the power struggle, Trotsky's shown the back door. He's not shown the front door. He's shown the back door.
Well, he had to flee to Mexico.
Yeah.
And Stalin still had an assassination.
Mm-hmm.
In Mexico.
Yeah. And I'm not sure he wouldn't have done it if he would have fled to the United States, except the only thing that might have spared him there is assassinating someone here. Could have definitely led to a war even back then. But that you're right. If you be careful whose death you celebrate and who you celebrate it with. As a matter of fact, I mean, the Bible, God tells Ezekiel, he said, I don't rejoice in the death of the wicked. He says, I'm
repentance.
Yeah, that's what God wants. And that's what we as the church are here for. We are here as that voice to try to get them to realize you don't have to go down this way. You don't have to, the psalmist said, my foot had almost slipped when I considered the wicked and how they prospered. He said, but then I entered into the house of the Lord, or the presence of the Lord, and I saw their end. And that is where we have to always view things, because we do understand the scripture that says we wrestle not against flesh and blood. And we kind of talked about this too. The kingdom of heaven, Jesus said, seek first the kingdom of heaven, Matthew 6:33, and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Christianity has not grown from war. And I know people's going to, they're going to want to point to the Crusades, but that was a small time in Christian history. Christianity has been won by either martyrdom or by missionaries or both.
Well, and the
Crusades were actually they've kind of been demonized
throughout
history, but they were
in
in
response
to
to
Islamic conquest.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And
And
so
so
the
truth of the matter is that
Pope
Pope
Urban
Urban
II,
II encyclical,
he never
he
once
never
mentioned
once mentioned
going over there to convince to convert the pagans to Christianity or convert those who follow Muhammad to the faith.
Mm-hmm.
His
His encyclical
was
all about
freeing
freeing
Christian
Christian lands
Yes.
and
protecting their
brothers
Christian
and sisters.
That's right.
At the time
At the time that it was called,
the Great
the Great
Schism
Schism
had
had
only
only
occurred
occurred like
40
40
years
years
before that.
before that.
Right. Yeah. Before
And
the
so-
before the
The
before
Crusades.
The Crusade, yeah.
Crusades, yeah.
And
And
a lot of times with
schisms of that level,
you don't
you
really
don't really
see the ripple effects
ripple
till
effects till like 100, 200 years after.
That's right. That's
even
right.
400,
Even 400 years afterwards,
which was the
which
case
was the case
with
with
the
the
Great Schism.
It was like they could do 1054 as being a year,
but it took
it took
2 to
200 to
400
400
years
years
to become
like,
oh, this
they
they
tried to reunify
several
times.
but even
with
in light of that,
the Pope
like,
was
hey, we
like,
gotta
hey,
go
we got to go
protect
protect
our
our
sisters in
sisters in Christ.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
And
And it really
You know-
was
you know-
not against the Jews like a lot of historians have tried to tell us that it was.
no,
it
really
really
wasn't.
wasn't.
And
The
the
other
other
issue is
too, Pope Saint
Pope
Gregory
Saint
the
Gregory the
Great
Great
would say,
would say,
I can't remember the
exact
exact
quote,
quote. He would say it's a great
command
to see an
see an
evil
evil
being
being
committed,
committed
and
and
you're
you're not
with
with
righteous
indignation
and stop that
evil and you're capable of doing so.
He's talking about, what was going on with the Crusades.
Well, no,
Well, it wasn't with
he was talking about just in general. People were asking about
anger and
because
Christianity.
You know,
There's a
point where
your anger
causes
can
sin
massively.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there's
But there's also righteous
anger.
anger. Jesus says righteous anger. Cast the money out of the temple.
Well, you and I and another friend of ours, Joel, who, back years ago we used to, hang out a lot, and we had this conversation. I remember, in between Red Lobster and Books a Million at that time. Not endorsed. This podcast is not endorsed by either. If you want to throw me some seafood, go right ahead. We talked about this, how that, the scripture tells us, number one, be angry and sin not. But it also says, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. And we have heard that a lot of times brought down to the fact of, if you have something against maybe your husband or your wife, make certain that you apologize and make it right. Yes, but not really. Don't let the sun go down on your wrath towards unrighteousness.
Yeah.
And while you're angry towards unrighteousness, don't let it become an instance for you to become unrighteous yourself.
Yeah.
Well,
Excuse
me.
Let's look
at it with
righteous anger. He took the
time to
take a rope
and make
a whip
a
out
whip
of it,
out of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then drive the money.
Which that means that was premeditated, by the way.
Yeah.
That was not. Because you just made the statement. He took the time to make a whip.
Mm-hmm.
That was not. That wasn't something that he did out of. What's the word I'm looking for? He did it with his faculties intact.
Yeah. He didn't do it out of
Emotion.
just blind rage.
Right. That's the word. Blind rage.
Well, and you and I, we've been disciples. After that,
we'd be like,
show us how
you made that
pretty cool.
Well, that's the thing, and that's what people fail to realize. They want to get this just this loving Jesus, which he is. I mean, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that he, whosoever believeth on him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Then 17, for God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. Yes, that's true. But we've also got to remember there's a question that Abraham asked him. Shall not the judge of all the earth do that which is right?
Right. Well, and another righteous anger was at the Council of Nicaea. And the story I'm about to talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
But the heretic Arius was preaching his heresy that was already causing problems in the church.
Mm-hmm.
And Saint Nicholas, and for everybody who's not aware,
who he is. Yeah.
So
I said, tell them who he is.
Talking about Santa Claus.
He is Santa Claus. He is Santa Claus.
Count his fists were filled with righteous fury. And he went up, and some accounts say he slapped, some accounts say he punched Arius, and knocked him back in his seat. And there are three problems that happened.
Well, let's just say that he decked Arius's halls.
Yes. And what's really funny is that there are churches in Romania you go to. They actually have of St. Nicholas Arius. It's like their highlight. And St. Nicholas did feel bad about it later on. But there were three problems that happened. One, it was in front of the emperor. Two, he struck clergyman.
Right.
Which is an excommunicable offense. He was a clergyman who struck someone else. And that someone else just so happened to be another clergyman. So there are three problems there that led to him being executed. Well, they arrested him, they put him in prison, and they were like, give us time to think and pray about it, and sleep on it so we can figure out what to do with him. And in the several bishops during the night had a dream where Christ and the Virgin Mary appear. And they said, we side with Nicholas. And Christ is handing St. Nicholas the gospel, and the Virgin Mary is handing the bishops on the Florian, which is a part of the sanctuary. And when the bishops all woke up the next morning, they shared their story, and they were like, "Ooh, okay, let's let him out." They let him out. After at the end of the emperor, when Constantine heard that, he was like, "Nope, let him out."
Well,
I
mean, that's the whole point right there. Is, I mean, it doesn't, because something like that happens. And to kind of give you, to bring this in a little bit more modern, and it's not a church issue, but you can find it on YouTube. It's Bennett versus Goodall, I think was his name. Gore Goodall, I think. And he was kind of the left's version of,
Was it Vidal?
Vidal, I think. And he was kind of the left's version of Buckley. And if you don't know who William F. Buckley was, he was the father of conservatism. And he also, in his day, would go around to college campuses, much like what Charlie Kirk did. And they used to have several debates. Well, at one particular debate, Vidal calls Buckley a neo-Nazi. And he curses him out. Buckley curses him out and tells him that he's going to sock him. And Buckley's brother said that he never lived that down. And I think for a Christian, once a Christian is brought to a point where we feel like we have to resort to violence, this is why that we're told not to be given to passions. Because we may not be wrong in what we're doing, but we know that it's wrong. Violence is not God's ultimate way, although sometimes righteous indignation and like we were talking about the collectivism, you can have a state such as the man who shot William Kerr, Charlie Kirk, is going to get the death penalty. And he should. But again, that is a power that is coming from the state based upon not just a group of people, but universally. I mean, people have accepted the death penalty as a whole.
Well, and in certain cases, that penalty is absolutely necessary.
Yes.
I mean, because one of our mutual friends, he pointed out his place has really gotten rid of the death penalty.
It's led
to
extreme
leniency
on other crimes.
Yes.
So having
the death penalty
possible
in all the books, even if it's rarely used,
is a
really good deterrent
for even lesser crimes.
Right.
But also
too,
what's really
interesting is
in the Catholic Church, one of the ways that the medieval church actually advocated for the death penalty was that while a person was waiting their execution, that gave them time to repent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you would see like a lot of bishops or Pope sometimes advocate for the death penalty because there was that last hope that this person would have time to repent for their crimes.
Mm-hmm.
And let's face it, there are certain crimes that really are give the death penalty. And I'm not going to mention it, but we all know what they are.
Yes.
We all know that there are certain criminals that once they cross a certain line, there is no going back.
Yeah.
You get a speeding ticket. You can that's easily corrected thing.
Yeah.
You're on a stoplight, gets hurt. Okay, cool. You go to traffic school. Okay, fine. You break and entering, robbery, but you didn't kill anybody or hurt anybody in the process. Okay, that's some time, and in one of those cases, those guys do become reformed. But there are certain degrees of crime. I don't care who you are. You may be able to repent, but you have still crossed a threshold where there is no coming back.
No, absolutely. I remember talking to a pastor several years ago, and and it's the recent pastor down in Texas that's just received, I think, 10 years. He's going to spend like 6 months in prison, and he received 10 years in prison. I won't, I believe God can forgive him for what he did. But at the same time, there are things that people can do that disqualify them from pulpit ministry, and that's one of them. And
right.
And so it's like you can find forgiveness, but at the same time, it has changed. It has taken away all credibility or any kind of influence you could have.
Right. And
we also have to remember too.
Sometimes being merciful to a criminal having committed some horrific crime is to spit in the face of his victims.
Yeah. That's right.
Those people like there is a situation right now where this 8-year-old caught on camera assaulting several young girls. He was a high school senior. And some people already know mentioning it, but I'm not mentioning his name. But after his initial arrest, other young women to detail their and his the judge in his case, the district attorney, his attorney, basically the guy doesn't have to register as an offender, doesn't have to do really any jail time. The biggest risk that you could imagine.
What do you do? Pay somebody off?
What?
He pay someone off?
No, it's just his family connected.
Okay.
And several victims feel like there is no justice. There is no justice.
No, there's not.
And the guy because he got away with it, probably going to do it again.
Right.
Sorry,
Yeah,
my
no, he
dog's my
will.
dog.
Because the scripture tells us that. It says that when the wicked are not speedily punished, they are encouraged in their ways. There's got to be equal justice under the law. There has to be. And see, and this is part of the problem, and this is why that many of your socialists like Mondani are able to win, because they're able to take certain things and they look at the way that capitalism, which is a quasi, and you and I have had this discussion over the years. It's a quasi-capitalism that was never intended by the founders or the way that our country works. And then secondly, when you look and you see certain people getting away with certain crimes that the rest of us would go away for decades, if not the rest of our life, and they don't even serve a day in prison.
Right.
That starts to chip away and undermine any credibility that the institutions would have.
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
absolutely.
And
Again, we come down to rugged individualism. That
we're
we're
all
all
supposed to be equal
under the law.
Yes.
And
one of the
things
things
about
about
I look
I
at
look at rugged individualism
is
is
you have
you
to
have to also
protect
protect
the
the rights of the individual.
So what that means
is,
you
you look at these
situations
where
corporations are now able to pay off politicians, they can contribute to
Yes.
unlimited amounts of money to political action, and yet we can't
we can't
do that
as
as individuals.
individuals.
Yeah.
And we're
And we're
constantly seeing our rights
rights
trampled
through companies like BlackRock,
State Street,
That's right.
Vanguard,
the
asset
asset
management
firms.
It's
The
the government
should
step in and be like, hey, you're violating rights, but also too, they also have some type of foresight to see, like, hey, this is towards a neo-feudalist system that will totally obliterate the rights of the individual,
Yeah.
and will wreak havoc on the economy. Because a lot of these people are getting money. They're wealthy. So
Yes.
what do they care about us peons who will ultimately vote?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it kind of goes back to the old story of, the old Greek story of Odysseus. He when he goes to the island where Helios, the sun god, is at, and he's told don't eat his cattle because that if you do, it's going to anger him and he'll kill your men. Well, Odysseus decides how many men can I lose and be okay. And, a good military commander has to make those decisions sometimes, but the difference is that once you start making that with the lives of civilians and the people who are contributing, and just, first off, no human asked to be here. They were all brought here, and God has a purpose for that person's life. So who are we? I don't care who we are. Who are we to make a decision on when it's time to end it?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, man, obviously going to have you back on. Like I said, the podcast is changing. We're getting contributors now to the podcast, and things are starting to change. And it's been a good hour, good conversation, and
and my dog's over here often like he's nuts from the Christmas vacation.
All right, man. Hey, you have a good rest of your weekend, and thanks for coming on.
You too, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We'll see you later. Bye.
All right, later.
All right, so that brings us to the end of another Exchange podcast. And again, like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends about us. Leave your comments in the chats, anything that you have questions about. Don't worry about, listen, I tell people all the time, the only stupid question that is the one that's not asked. If there's something you're not clear about, something you want to know, put it in the chat. We'll get to it, we'll answer it, and join the Exchange. It's called the Exchange because we talk about most anything on here. But it is ultimately an evangelistic tool. It's a tool of evangelism to get the word out. And I said it earlier in the podcast. I'm going to reiterate it right here. The church and God uses modern mediums to get the word out. So therefore, again, I like, subscribe, share, tell everyone about us. We will see you here next week. Have a great week. Find a church somewhere in the morning. If you don't go, a good Bible-believing church, get involved, go with God, and have a great rest of your day.